we go. Episode 8. I think we did it. We're dealing with our own sideways rain today, Chris. Our guest had to reschedule, and then we couldn't get headphones to work. But look, we're still making it happen.
No, we're here, man. It's the name of the game, sideways rain. Life is not perfect, and it never goes as you expect. So always be able to pivot. But happy to be here on a Friday, doing another episode with you, JR. Let's get into it. Here comes the rain.
All right, here we go. Like we said, we're pivoting today, and we said we don't have a guest or a topic, so what do we do? And where is our sideways rain coming? And we thought we would just, go right after the audience and say, why can't y'all be real on social media, right?
The age-old question, man. Social media and business, do they mix? Are they supposed to go together? Are they polar opposites? What's your perspective, JR?
I don't know. I feel like it's like Facebook, the business platforms, you're only seeing the rosy stuff for the most part, and the quote unquote sideways rain or the difficult parts, they're putting through a filter of something obnoxious or AI or just like some sort of life lesson that we're supposed to learn about, the 5 lessons I learned about going on vacation with my 2-year-old that apply to business. And it's like, I don't know who that applies to or like where these business learnings came from, but it just all feels so fake, and it's like content for the sake of content. Like, why? What are we doing?
Yeah, the amount of posts that I see on multiple different platforms where it's just a quote that asks a question, and it asks for 500 of their followers to comment and just have all of this meaningless engagement. Where is it going? What purpose is it solving? Is it really helping your business, or is it fluff? I feel like I see a lot of fluff, and I like to summarize that by saying social media is targeted for a specific purpose, and it typically is never for the purpose that is bringing the most value to you as the end consumer.
Yeah,
that's what I've kind of learned just in my aimless scrolling of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. It's just, it's a remix of all of the same things. So hopefully it gets better, but I feel like it's going in the opposite direction, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just as guilty as anybody in oversharing, even on business platforms from time to time in the effort to get attention. But one, like, I think very few businesses is driven through LinkedIn. It's more about legitimacy and showing that you're out there and posting on a consistent basis. That's the conversation we have here at 180 often, is like, hey, we're not going to drive big 6-7 figure events through the website or LinkedIn. Those are driven through human connection. But we feel like we have to post to show people, hey, we're out here, we're being active, and we're doing things. So it's like, it's almost like a necessary chore now versus an avenue people can use to reach you. So we have a lot of conversations about, how do we create content that's actually valuable for people instead of it, pray and spray content out there and just hope people are going to interact with it. So I think if you actually want to get something out of social, just like in your life, you have to give something first. So give people tools, give them advice that maybe they haven't heard before. Tell them about your really cool Excel spreadsheet and give them a link to download it. Like, stop with the 30,000 foot view of this concept or that concept. We've seen it all. Like, we've lived in this digital world for long enough where we've seen it all and heard it all. And honestly, if your post isn't providing value, or if it's longer than 200 characters, who's actually reading it?
And to that point, it's like, is your target market on these social media platforms, are they engaging the way that you think they are? I know that I can speak from a WIPS perspective where I don't feel like our target market is really on social media. Mm-hmm. So posting about what we're doing with WIFT new feature concepts that we have. What market is it really reaching? You don't have control over that, but you know who does? The algorithms that these platforms make. You don't get to say what post JR sees. You don't get to say what post company A receives. Once you post it, you lose control of that. And isn't the whole purpose of posting on social media to be able to speak to a following? But now we're starting to learn and understand that those followings are skewed in terms of what content is pushed your way, when it's pushed your way, and what hashtag you used, what characters you used. Did you use too many characters? All of these things that, once again, is it bringing value to you, the original content creator, or are there other avenues that you could be taking to get your point across? And I feel like we're going to reach a dead period with social media. Like, I feel like we're on this trajectory of like, it just keeps getting more and more of a necessity for society. But I do feel like we're headed towards a big cliff and big drop off with starting your own platforms or pushing your content out in more meaningful, impactful ways where you're connecting with the end user more so than casting a wide web and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't a new quote. I'm sure we've all heard it, but when the product is free, that means you're the product. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of them, Snapchat, freaking TikTok, like you get to download that stuff for free. It gives you stuff for free, but that's because they're making ad revenue that they're going to sell to you. And the algorithms have become so hyper specialized that you are in this very unique niche. And I would actually be surprised if everybody had their own niched algorithm. It's not like you're clumped with 10 other people or even 50. You're probably in your own clump. And I think we saw it with Cambridge Analytica as it came to like influencing the 2016 election. They can hyper point to you, to your geolocation, what your interests are, especially from a political perspective, like campaigning and running ads to very specific people, like 43-year-old males that live on streets that are two ways. Like you could literally do that. It's stupid. So yeah, we've intentionally made ourselves products because we like the dopamine rush of scrolling. And I think you're right. We're starting to see through all that, and it's becoming boring and tiresome. And, like the kids say now, we all need to go out and touch grass.
For sure. And it's one of those like misconceptions where you feel like you have to have a social media platform. You feel like you have to have a following on all of these platforms in order to be looked at a certain way. But from my personal experience, if I want to do business with a company or if I'm interested in a product, I'm not going to go to their Instagram or their LinkedIn to get the information that I need. I'm going to go directly to their website or speak with someone in person. Mm-hmm. So I think there's this false misinterpretation that you have to have a following on multiple platforms in order to be viewed as an established entity or an established professional, you name it. And I just don't think it's realistic. And I think we need to slowly separate ourselves from that because it's not really bringing value to us. It's bringing value, JR, to your point, to the platforms that are offering this free service, but they're targeting you based on all of your private data. Like at some point, we got to have the discussion of like, is this an invasion of privacy? How much can they really drill down and put things in front of you and control what you see or don't see? That's the scary part for me.
Yeah. What data do you actually own as a human being? What data is yours? What can be stolen? I think Europe's done a better job of sort of regulating and making decisions for the people around this than the U.S. has. But I mean, sometimes that's the value of the U.S., right? We're still kind of the wild, wild west in that sense. Like we want this crazy freedom, and it comes with cost. And people they're out there now. Everybody's putting themselves out there, but everything is congealed around major influencers. And that's true whether you're on Instagram or major business platforms where they're the ones getting the most views. They're the ones that are targeting the most algorithms, and the rest of us are just screaming into the void. And to be honest, like, I can't even see the content I want to see without going individually to the people that I want to see it from. So like, they've taken a lot of the value that I see away. And so I don't know. I don't even know if you're on Facebook, Chris, but like, I'm on there purely for family. If you on Facebook now, it is 75% ads.
It's the wild, wild west.
It's crazy.
And it's like, how are they getting these metrics to promote certain content to you? If you don't want to see it, how are we getting there? There's been plenty of times where I'm talking with my fiance casually, and I'll go on Facebook, and what do you know? Here's a product that we were just discussing on Amazon with a Facebook ad. I've never searched for this product before, never talked to anybody about it, but somehow those metrics are able to be pulled into the algorithm, and now content is being shown in front of me. And this happens on all platforms.
Oof.
And JR, I want to ask you this because I'm kind of connecting the dots right now. I personally feel like the pandemic had a huge impact for the way that social media has gone since the early 2020s. Do you feel like pandemic, things shifting to virtual, influencers becoming more of a normal job that people can actually create real financial freedom from? Do you think that is kind of the start of this social media craze? Or do you think it's always been this way?
Maybe. Well, there's a few things to unpack there. Like, one, I think being an influencer and that being accessible to large amount of people in a meaningful way is false. Like, I think that's a dream that certainly anybody could accomplish, but I think it's more rare than it's made out to be. I think even people with what I would consider large followings, tens of thousands of people, aren't getting the revenue that they need from these platforms with all the work that they're putting in. I think social media played a really valuable role in pandemic, especially the start when we didn't have any connection to each other. And we just said, like, this is the only place where we can meet. But it also had some damaging effects where we all kind of consolidated around it and made it more powerful. And we're seeing the result of that as Americans in really unique ways where they're not necessarily in Europe. So you go to Europe and restaurants largely survive on foot traffic and regular customers and people that come into the restaurant. But because of this social media craze and our desire to just be head down in our phones, a large portion of income at restaurants in the US comes from food delivery. People aren't actually going out anymore as much as they were. And there's a huge revenue stream of DoorDash and Uber Eats that people are just gobbling up, and they don't want to go out. They want to stay home. They want to be in their phones or computers and or meet in smaller groups and not interact socially. And I think we're losing something there. And not to get into political stuff, but it helps to divide us in a way because we don't see and interact with the other side very often anymore. We live in our little spheres of influence and we only see the things we want to see. So I think it made it really easy to, if you didn't leave your home and your only interaction with the world was through the internet will now tell you exactly what you believe is true. And it doesn't matter what you believe, right? It's telling everybody you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. And that divides people.
Yes.
It's hard.
And it's even more scary now that we have AI. I find myself, when I see something on social media, the first thing I do is say, I don't know if this is true. And I don't feel confident to think that it's true, but I can't help unsee it. I've seen it. I've read whatever the caption is. Now it's up to me to decipher, should I hold on to this? Do I need to go do more research? Or can I take this at face value? And to your point, it is telling everyone that they're right. And it's going to gear you towards more content that validates you and tells you that you're right, no matter what the topic is. And that's very scary.
There was a moment
Social media is powerful.
in time, sorry, Chris, where we were almost going to go the right direction on this. And it was near 2016, right? So like we were seeing the political influence on our election on social media channels, and the social media folks and the government were saying like, this isn't good. We need to have a source of truth. People can't just say whatever they want and present it as fact. And so there were these entire divisions of social media companies like Facebook and Twitter, and which is X now, and others that were essentially fact checking and letting people know like, hey, here's the actual truth behind this post. And X still does this to an extent, but only when they like to. In fact, Trump was kicked off of Twitter because of it, right? So for putting out false information. And then after 2016, we sort of went into an area where we deregulated everything. And we said, nope, it's fine. People can post what they want. It's the First Amendment, like freedom of speech. And we got into this really weedy debate around First Amendment and what you can say and what's true. And I agree. People can say whatever they want to say, but I think context is important, especially if you're only feeding them false information. And so we've gone down this path, and then Elon bought X, Twitter, named it X, and got rid of 80% of the staff. And he even said in an interview, it's really easy to reduce X's staff if you don't have to fact check anything anymore. And so they've just made it the Wild West over there, and you can say whatever you want and push whatever you want. And we're not in a world where the correct voices get viewed. It's the loudest and stupidest and most controversial that get viewed. And man, it's scary, especially for kids who can't see through it.
Very scary. And to that point, not to get too political, but the recent passing of Charlie Kirk, I've never seen something so gruesome be blasted across so many different platforms and be so easy to obtain. It's almost like you could not see it, no matter what platform you were on. And I remember there was a time where things like that, you would never be able to see it. You could search the internet for days and not be able to find anything that points to something like that, the magnitude of that. But to your point, it's the wild, wild west. And we have a lot of mass school shootings and things of this nature that social media is always the focal point of these tragedies. And like I said, I still feel like we're on the ramp up. It's only going to continue to get worse unless I feel like the government does step in and kind of revisit that 2016 conversation. But it's going to be interesting to see where we end up. But to be on a lighter topic, JR, is there anything that when you think about social media, is there anything that you actually enjoy about social media given its current state, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn? Is there any value that you do get from it in its current state?
Sure. Just like anybody else, I can sit and scroll for half an hour. I really enjoy Instagram, and the algorithms got me pretty dialed in on like leadership behaviors and TED Talks and all this sort of stuff that I find really interesting and different perspectives around business, and from everything from like being a good dad to like running a good business. The 30 to 60 second snippets of just like dopamine hits are good, and I'll save stuff and I'll use them in the business and say like, hey, I saw this person said this and I thought it was really interesting. Like let's use that as a thought experiment. So yes, I mean, I'm certainly out there using it as well, but I'm also cognizant of what I'm seeing has been driven by the decisions I've made by flicking my thumb and how I'm the product. So yeah, I still use it. And like, you guys can call us hypocrites, right? Like we're sitting here on a podcast that we're about to post on social media. So like we talk about the bane of social media, but it's out there and there is some value. And I guess the message like for today is like, be careful, like seek other input, even if it's a news resource that you don't like don't just say you hate that news resource because they're on the other side. Like go over there, take a look at it and see what people are saying and doing and like do some research or work. But yeah, with the kids, it's we've kept it out of our kids' hands and we will. And I think I was really fortunate growing up when I did. I I graduated in the year 2000, so the late 90s, we didn't have social media. And so like when you left school, you got to just be home and you didn't have to deal with bullies or bullshit that was happening in the school. And now they come home and that just gets carried over in a text or a link or a chat group or whatever. So it's certainly value to social media. I think we have to be a lot more careful with children, especially under the age of 18, especially high school age kids or younger. And I think there can be good to it if we can just find a place where, one, like you said, Chris, everybody can own their data. Like maybe you can choose to opt in or out of the algorithm, or maybe you can choose to opt in and out of what data that they want to take instead of everything. And two, being transparent about fake news.
Yes.
And labeling it. Like you can still believe it. You can still do whatever you want, but I want like a little red X in the top corner that's just like, this shit's suspect.
Yeah. Let's not normalize fake news or doctored video that insinuates something's happening when it's not. Like we have enough misconception going on in the world. We don't need all of our social media channels tricking us day to day.
You know what I get
the last thing I'll say
on fake news? Sorry to interrupt. It's sports content. They will screw with your heads.
Oh my God.
I'll be scrolling Twitter and it'll be like, it was like 2 days ago was the trade deadline in the NFL. They're like, TJ Hawkinson traded to the Detroit Lions. And I'm like, what?
That has happened to me so many times. And it's like, hold on, this is just completely made up.
Yeah.
The graphics not real. The caption's not real. And people will believe it.
Yep.
Like I've seen players even say that they've seen stuff like that and think that they've been traded when it's not real.
Wow.
And it's all for clicks.
Yep.
All for clicks.
Just made up.
It's crazy. Yeah. But I think the message of the day is there's a lot of sideways rain that goes on with these social media platforms.
Yeah.
So stay woke, protect your data, and always do your own research.
And don't get JR on his soapbox about social media. Hey, this was fun. We just winged it.
For sure. We should talk about social media more often.
No kidding. Yeah. All right, fun episode, Chris. Like next week we should have a guest. We'll be back, but hopefully y'all enjoyed just us riffing. This was fun.
Yeah. Until next time.
We spent half the show just trying to get sound. 15 minutes lost, but we stuck around. Talking about filters and the feeds we chase. How the truth gets blurred in a pretty face. So scroll a little less and talk a little more. Step outside that algorithm war. The product is free and you're the sale, my friend. So breathe real air before you hit send. Likes and hearts don't buy your time. They just sell your soul.